We are live. Did everyone get to see the beautiful full moon last night? It was gorgeous. It was just beautiful.
Slept so deep.
Mhm. Those moon rays were intense.
I threw back all my curtains in my house and the moon rays were shooting all through here, hitting all the crystals. I had some grids out and they're like hitting the grids, and it was good.
Yeah, so yeah, definitely we put out the crystals and they're all recharged, they're ready. I took some pictures of the moon. I walked out several times I started looking for the moon at 8 p.m. and I couldn't see it. And it wasn't until after I finished watching Dancing with the Stars, I walked out and I'm like, there you are. So it was really nice to see the moon last night and just really recharge with it, receive those moon rays.
My dog's whining.
Today, I'm just gonna put it on the Healers Roundtable page so I could see if any questions come in through our live. There we go. And go ahead and post the Zoom link, JB, in case anyone wants to join in via Zoom.
Got all the tech.
Yeah, JB's my tech.
Maybe we could, no, I don't want to do that. But someday we could film when I'm doing the equinox or solstice, because a lot of people can't come and things are going on and their elders are ill and stuff like that. So but miss coming. Yeah.
So let me go ahead and share the slides to start it off. I always wait until after live because then I can't do this. It doesn't let me. My little arrow disappears.
Oh, I know. Isn't that weird? You're like, where'd it go?
Yeah. Okay, so thank you. Welcome everyone who has joined us. Yesterday we talked about recharge. If you missed yesterday's Zoom or live, you could always find it on our Healers Roundtable page and Facebook, and you could watch it. And so today we are going to be focusing on Reflect and tomorrow Reconnect. So it's a 3-day course. It started yesterday. My name is Rebecca Grace Arce, and my husband,
JB Atkins. We are neuromuscular therapists by trade. We're also known as a muscle whisperers. And what that means is usually when we work on our clients, your muscles hold stories or memories, and they kind of start talking to us. And we like to make sure we provide a safe space so you can address those, whether it's a mental, emotional, or physical energetic blockage. We help show you how to flow.
exactly. And together we're called the Dual Dragons. And so we're self-healing facilitators. So we always promote as healers that facilitate healing. And are also holistic wellness consultants. And what that means is there will come times when we come across clients that they're going to need more than just our service. And we have a wonderful network, including Debbie that you see here as our guest coming up, a beautiful network that we could, provide for our clients if they need any other kind of services to help them in their healing journey. And so you could find us through our website, dualdragons.com. You can email us at jbr@dualdragons.com, or you could text or call us at our business number, which is 949-942-1428. We're also mobile. So, we service out of Orange County, but we've gone as far down as San Diego, LA, even Arizona. And so you could we're mobile to you, or you can come here, this space that I'm sitting in. This is our healing room. This is all we use this room for only, is to provide services here. And so now, today's subject is on reflect. And I really like this picture because sometimes when we reflect, you feel this heavy. I feel heavy like this little elephant, but we're really not that heavy. And I love this picture because it really gives a bigger perspective of how we really feel, but what it really is. We're really light as energy beings, but we ourselves add that heaviness. So when we're reflecting, we feel this way, but it's not. It's an illusion, you know, the heaviness. It's the light and dark, you know, the yin and yang, and you know, it just kind of plays like a tug of war within us sometimes.
Definitely,
So
like speaking about a memory or moment actually that just happened, was it yesterday or last week, where my wife, not really knowing her true strength, was a big kind of her watching Misu, a dog from her ex. It's 60 pounds, and it's usually a very pulling kind of dog. So imagine 60 pounds, and for her to have use or tap into that side of self, not aware, and really pull that, she was like astonished for that day. She was stunned. It's like, I didn't know how I pulled the dog. I was able to grab the dog and just toss it out before it was gonna attack one of our other fur babies that were babysitting. That's a little 5-pounder.
Oh,
Sure,
Yeah.
like there's moments like that, like you start reflecting on different things and just really trusting yourself, trusting your strength, trusting your memory, and then start learning how to peel off the layers that make you feel heavy.
Mhm. So on reflecting, I'm just going to read these questions and just kind of take time to simmer in them. We're going to talk a little bit, and if anyone has questions or wants to share anything at the end, that's a great time. But just kind of like right now, let's everyone just tune into ourselves and just listen and reflect. So reflecting, tune into your awareness. When something happens, what is your experience of your awareness? What do you notice? What caught your attention in this moment? What feelings were involved? What beliefs, memories, ideas, thoughts? Follow the flow of knowing. What do you know from your awareness? What path does your knowing take? What experience follows? Where do your thoughts go? What is happening in your body? And then ponder, consider, meditatively reflect. There we go. That was a tongue twister right there.
hey, you gotta get your tater in there.
What do I learn? What do I resist? That was a really good one. What captures my attention? What is missing? Where does this take me? What is the meaning I draw? What are the gifts in this moment? You know, and even as sometimes feel not that great, you still receive a gift in that moment. And that's very important to remember that. You know, when you're in a very dark place, dark moment, dark experience, there's always the flip side of the coin. There will be light on the other side. And what's the gifts that you get from that moment? So take some time to think about these questions. I really liked it because I really like looking at these questions. Sometimes I'll go back to them when something's up going on. It could either be positive or negative. I'll look at these questions to help me as a guide to see what to become aware of. What am I resisting? What do I feel within my body? Our body is very capable of giving us messages that are much needed for us to pay attention to. And then the learning and the gift that you get from it. So now I'm gonna go ahead and introduce our guest speaker. Yes, Debbie Nikki, owner of the Mermaid Cottage Seaside Sanctuary, Crystal Energy Healer. I've gotten energy healing from Debbie and it's wonderful. A lot of insight, a lot of knowledge that she provides. And like a teacher, she teaches you what you need to know, what you need to do to address anything that's going on at the moment. And holistic wellness, very well, she'll guide you on your path of holistic healing. And you could reach her at her Gmail, d27mckee@gmail.com, or at her number 949-392-0409. Highly suggest you guys get a service from Debbie. It's well worth it. So with that, I'm going to hand it over. I'm going to stop sharing.
There we go. Now I'm not so tiny.
Yeah.
Definitely. So like, I guess our first question, Debbie, what's your interpretation or how do you reflect?
Well, I'm a sign of Cancer, so we're kind of obsessed with reflecting. You know, if you're a water sign, you think about what happened, and why did that happen, and why am I feeling this way, and am I just ranting in my head, or did something really happen that was really dramatic or really horrible? And so you're constantly kind of running through these things all the time. So my deal is I have to calm it down so I can get a real perspective on it. Like, how intense was it, or am I just freaking out? So I reflect a lot, and I write a lot, and that helps. And my early 30 years of journaling, I would write about how I felt and rah rah rah, and I would get it out on paper. And that helped me a lot. And then you go back and read it, like our full moon we've got. I didn't realize how much I reacted to the full moon until I was rereading my notes. I was a designer for a really long time. So I would draw and I would write, and I would draw and I'd write. And so I would be going back looking for my designs I came up with. And then I would read my stuff. And then I found out I had the pattern. Every month I would feel these things every month, like 3 days before the full moon. So then I'm like, oh, there's some perspective. It's not just me, and your little uterus reacts to it, and all your little friends. I used to have what I call cancer parties. So I had all these cancer friends. We'd all come over and go, and it was funny, but we would learn a lot about ourselves by going through this, so reflection is a big deal for me. And then I have to come down. And my big way, we were talking about it earlier, big way for me to come down is to get in nature. And if you are really sensitive to people, situations or family situations, which we all are, it's why we're here, it's a lot of stuff, right? Is I get out in the ocean as much as possible, or at least walking near it, and then or get somewhere where you can get the breeze on your face, your breeze in your hair. And I've noticed when I've been working on people lately, especially since this past year and a half, everyone has all these worries in their hair. So to get, it's like your thoughts of things you've heard, and your thoughts are just sort of like hanging out in your hair. So clearing people's hair has been interesting. I've never really noticed that before. So to get out in the wind can help literally blow your troubles off of you and give you a fresh perspective, because you feel it on your face real fast, not a rhythm fan, because that gives you comfort, but a real breeze. So next time it's really windy, get out there and let it blow off of you. Or my latest obsession the past couple of years have been the trees, and I'm just driving wherever I can to get near these amazing big trees, because you can learn, the old tree hugging thing, right? It's totally true. Just get near them and stand on their roots and feel their bark, or feel their needles on the ground, or their leaves, or crunching the leaves. And that is all healing. That's all medicine, and that's what really calms me down, and I can get a perspective on a situation. And I've always joked, there's nothing a 2-hour walk can't solve, because you start giving it up, you start getting tired, and you start giving up the rant in your head, and leave it in the ground or in the ocean air or things you smell or in the breeze. And it can give you a clearer perspective of it's from the hurt that you were feeling, and calms you down.
Definitely. How would you define, from your experience with yourself, with clients that you kind of facilitated, how would you define the difference between reflecting and dwelling, so they don't get stuck?
Well, Well, I think the reflection comes after the dwelling, we call it the rant. Whoa, whoa, whoa. And then and I know people don't like to talk about menopause, but we get a crazy brain during menopause and you get, I call it, you're circling, you start circling and you like, or I call it obsessive thoughts, where you just kind of keep thinking about it over and over and you can't get out of it. And it'll come back and that's hard. And so that's when people can jump into their addictions to stop that rant. So if you can find other ways to get through that rant in your head. There was an old psychic who wrote a ton of books called Sylvia Brown. She was really wild, but she was the real deal. But she used to say, you got to push that eject button, which, obviously that was about cassettes. So that's a long time ago, but you got to push that eject button, just pop those thoughts out of your head now and then. So yeah, there is a difference between reflect and what'd you say?
Dwelling, or kind of like obsessed.
Dwelling. Yeah,
Kinda like-
dwelling on something. Yeah, so you have to find a way to get out of that rant and that obsessive thought where you're just kind of coming around to the same sentence and catch yourself and change that word even for a second. But one that I've started doing, and this might sound silly, I've just started doing it the past couple years, is when I get really down, like I'll obsess on something and then it'll flatten me, or I'll get flat, what I call flattened, where I have to lay down. I can't do anything else. So I have to, and I'm kind of hyper, so I'm always doing, and so I get laid down and then I finally rest and then I get sad and then I don't want to get up, and I think a lot of us are going through this past year and a half. So for me, even when I get really down or you're getting weepy and you feel the tears that keep coming, is I jump into thankfulness. And I know that sounds cliche, but I tell you, it works instantly. And it can be even as simple as like, thank you for giving me my little dog to smile at me. And thank you for it being so beautiful today, or that fresh breeze, and you just get into these tiny little thankfulness before the big stuff. Or I'll reread some of my notes and realize some really big impactful thing that happened with a client that made me feel so good. So you got to get into that thankfulness and the word gratitude, of course, but you once you start doing it and you get to like a little list of 20 things, you're out of your mood and you're out of your sadness. And so I wrote that on my notes about that, as that has really helped me this last year and a half, where things got so freaky, and they're still freaky, but you know what, our perspective is so important right now. What's real right now, and realize the greatness in you and the things that you have been doing and the results you have been getting and how far you've come, and you get out of that that locked in stuff we get in here into our minds. Yeah, sure.
Definitely, as I have heard and watched other presentations and other wonderful people, when they talk about reflection, it's either all mental or it's all emotional. You're one of the few that I've heard more recently that you talk about both in a way.
Oh,
So,
sure. Yeah.
actually, this last moon, I could kind of respond where after your session, a couple other sessions I had, I was going through that thing where I just want to lay down, and then all this emotion, because I was so, all this voices in my head, I was able to kind of subside the mental, try to reflect, and then allow the emotional and around that balance. And it's intense. And it was so intense, it led to a 1-day fever, to kind of let it process and heal
Yeah.
stuff I've been holding on to, or emotions I've yet to release. And yeah, it's been a wild ride. So thank you for kind of bringing that up, and the way you show a balance, the mentally emotional. Now,
Nice.
tie in reflection with a little bit of spiritual, because usually people will leave out spiritual / energetic. Like, how would you translate reflecting on all 3 levels?
Well, the more you open your heart, like, so what you did is gorgeous. That's you had a shed, and especially if you get a little fever too, I call it a shed. Like, you get I believe that's what our flus and our colds and stuff are, especially if you get a fever, you're flattened, you're quieted, you're made to hold still and then process, you know? So I feel like if you get a little fever that didn't really have much associated with much else, that was like, it was a spiritual shed. So then you find out who you are again and you open up to this new level. So the deeper you go in your heart, and not just about love, it's just the deeper you can go into your heart and start feeling more on every level, on every chakra, on, you know, literally like feeling the trees. And, you know, like people who talk about fairies, they always seem like they're really tough and they don't really like people, but they really are so much more sensitive on every level, that their hearts are massive and they're like bigger than their shoulders usually. And then they've got these like etheric wings on their back that are going to sort of let that pressure off of them, you know? So the more that's just, I'm always showing all these crystals about all the pink crystals and all the different levels of them. And then now, you know, to open up your heart and open up your spirituality bigger, because it's not just right here and right here in our crown, it's in your heart. So the more you build up your heart, the more your crown chakra opens up. And then also, you know, that I think it was Colette, she was talking about that your intuition is in your belly. So that's your belly chakra, which is your strength and your confidence. So the more you dance with your heart and your belly and your confidence and your love, you wrap them together. You know, you do that infinity on there, and it opens up them both. And then your intellect can dance around with it. So you got to connect them all the time. You know, they really aren't separate at all. The big one that I've been pushing, I could say, is the yellows, you know, so the golds and the yellows. I'm wearing my gold today because it's harvest time, but the gold and crystals, I've been really focusing on them to get this golden blessing on top of our head, literally building that halo on top of our crown chakra. It's about Christ consciousness, but taking it up bigger levels, you know, not just no Twinkie later, sorry. Sorry. Is taking you know, your consciousness up bigger and bigger. So I believe that's a big part of no, big part of our even our I don't like to say its name. I feel like it makes it bigger. The thing we've been going through the past year and a half, it's like humanity is shedding and they're shifting and they're popping through dimensions and we're growing and our spirituality is growing. So the gold crystals really help you adapt to that. So I've been on this gold thing for about 3 years now, and it's time, you know, we're growing, we're heightening, and it helps you connect your mind and your heart at the same time. And so you can't do one without the other. You can't just be love and hug and cry. It's more than that. It's not just studying and working on your crown chakra and trying to talk to your angels and talk to your guides over and over and over. You got to do them both. And
Nice.
then all of a sudden, you know, your jaw relaxes and your body relaxes and your uterus gets comfortable, and things start flowing.
That's interesting because our guest speaker yesterday, she's into essential oils and she's been doing this meditation with the essential oils, and she talked about essential oil Egyptian gold.
Mm.
And so now you're bringing up also gold. And so that's a very,
Yeah, there you go.
yeah.
Definitely. And how can we translate for people that are, you know, part of the Healers Roundtable and they're kind of new to healing? Can you give examples of like when you successfully reflect and then shed, like what do you manifest or how does it make your life easier? Like, can you give like some kind of, whether it's personal or general client examples, how they succeeded or they got the dream job or dream relationship? Like, how does that translate into, you know, someone that's new to us and new to healing and new to kind of dabbling in holistic?
Well, I'm hearing like this thing I started a year and a half ago with people who were losing their jobs, and now a lot of people in their jobs again. I started doing and to me, a big part of people losing their job is like, it's time for their new job anyway. And hopefully that they can find their awareness to find their new job. So I started this thing a year and a half ago, helping people who've lost their job and give them a free session or two to find their new job, to find out what they really want to do. So you have to change your perspective of not just to pay the rent, but what's going to really jimmy your soul, and just like get you really excited. And so I started doing these sessions with people to help them find their new job, and they're getting it like right away. I was like, whoa, that's cool. But it was, I mean, yeah, I could psychically hear this stuff like, well, you're going to get these 3 offers and then this one's going to happen, but wait to that third one, because the third one's going to be better. Now you can take the second one, but you're probably going to have to change in like about 4 months. And then boom, 4 months, they're like, ah, they call me again. But it's just helping them shift their perspective on what they think they need. So that was a big part of my notes that I wrote about, is like, we get into these things of what we think we need or what we think we desire even, like, oh, I need to be married and I need to find a husband. Do you really? What is it that you really want from that relationship? To feel safe, to feel secure, to feel comfortable in society? That's one I go through all the time. So, it's you pick it apart. What is it that you really desire on that subject? No, really, really desire on that subject. Or what are you really mad about in that argument? What are you really mad about that job? Why you lost that job? It is probably obviously the tyranny right now about it, why you lost a job. That's just total BS, but take it as a blessing. Okay, everyone's going through it. So on your resume, it's going to be cool because everyone's being forced to do this ridiculous thing. So don't worry about it on your resume, that it's going to affect your next hire. It's like, okay, where do you really want to go in that job? If you're losing your job because you work in a hospital and, working in a hospital is really hard, not just physically, but the regime that they have to go through there. So what if you start working with a bunch of other nurses who've been let go, and you start your own little deal and your own little network and referrals, and you pass people around, and all of a sudden you've got your own business going on. So it's a perspective of the details and trying to pick apart what really offends you, what really pisses you off, and then try to find a healing in, what would make you really happy in that teeny tiny situation. So doing these sessions of helping people find their new job, and not even their soul journey perfection, but you really are helping them with that, especially if they're, like past 40 and they've already been at that job for longer than they want to be, and try to get them through their next, 15, 20 years. That's been a fun thing I've gotten to do lately. That's very real. And it was very evident, and just calming someone's system down and their mind down. And I do this thing where I get at their ears right away in the beginning of the healing, and I clear them out. I go boom, 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 boom. And I know some people say like, you're shoving a bar in my ears. And then I pull out, I pull out the gray, which is all the words that everyone's been sticking in them, whether it's their coworkers or the parents or the media, so you clear out their ears, and then green light to heal it and white light to seal it. And that can really help change your perspective a lot.
Yeah.
Definitely. We had a couple posts on the Facebook. Sebastian share intention, focus from within and outside. And Millie says, hi, Debbie McKee.
Oh, she is from Africa? Millie from Africa?
It just says Millie Tino.
Yeah, she's in Africa.
Oh.
Yeah, she's from Joanna's group.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, she wants to come over here.
Definitely. Is there any other, you mentioned you had taken some notes that you want to share on the subject of reflect. Is there anything we haven't covered yet?
Let's see. For sure. Sadness, loneliness, judgment. We were talking earlier, Rebecca and I were, about the dark side to the light side. And that crawls in on me too, my dark side. And, you can either it doesn't have to be as extreme as like your addictions, but I'm always worried that I'm going to get addiction. So I'm always, because I'm highly creative, and as highly creatives, we go way up, way down. But I'm always on checking to make sure things aren't taking over on me by checking in on myself regularly on a subject. Or it's just like, it can be food too. It's like, oh, at 11:02 last night I ate this, and then 11:02 the next night you want it again, so you have to try to get in front of it. But some of the other things, as far as dark side goes, I think it can be even simpler things that drag us down. Judgment, jealousy, sadness, loneliness, feeling poor. Those are ones that crawl in on me all the time. And when I get mad at myself, I get into judgment on others. And I really wish I could shake that one. And my guides tell me not to read so much about the other people. And then then there's less of me even looking at it, but even little things. And so I'm always trying to switch that judgment around and not be so so catty. I think that's in my genes. But my second husband got like really mad at me, like, you and your son, you're always judging everyone. I'm like, sorry, we're from California. That was our excuse. But it's I don't know, it's hard. But loneliness can crawl in on you too. And loneliness, especially at sunset. I get it at sunset. I'm like, oh, I wish someone could walk with me to the cliff or to the beach, or that's when it gets me. And then you get into the why me, and why am I this, and then you got to step out of that. Well, why am I really lonely? And is it a social thing? Is it, do you just socially need someone, or is it the picture that you think you need to have a mate? And so once I get through that and just do the little things I want to do anyway, I don't have to have someone on my finger to do that. And then I get through it a little better. Let's see what else is on here. Oh, the poor versus just surviving. And I feel like, so this is one of my subjects right now, and I've worked on this a lot. And like, there's energetic stuff you can do with your money, to bless it when you get it, to write down and put you guys, I know you guys do this too. You have like a goblet where you can put things in it that you can look at, going, when you get in that rant in your head about feeling poor or not doing enough. We're hyper workers here in California to survive, and we have chronic sunshine, so we just keep going. And if you have something that represents, and I like to put it in your money corner, that represents what you've been doing, and even if it's a note from that client, or of course I've got crystals with notes wrapped around them, and I look at that, I'll see it somewhere, I can see it in passing, go, oh yeah, I'm okay. Oh yeah, I'm okay. And the poor mentality is that the beggar bowl mentality. And most of us who are in this profession have been a begging in our life, one of our lives, at least in our past lives, where you're literally starving, freezing, and begging for something. So to shift that out of your system is really important too, I think.
Well, some people refer to as a gratitude journal or gratitude bowl of finance. Would you refer to this like a bowl to reflect on?
Yeah. Is that what that is? I guess
or,
okay. Poor just for surviving. Oh, what else I was going to say about that is, I feel like media is trying to really tell us to just survive. The way the government is doing this whole thing, and then this whole van life. This whole van life thing, I don't need anything. I can live in my car. It's like, yeah, those adventures could be fun, but when it comes down to it, that could really eat at your soul after a while of not having some place to literally ground yourself and feel the trees and feel the earth and feel who you are and what you are and everything. And maybe some people argue with me with that, but I like to camp and I like to get out also, but I like to come home too, where my fuzzy things are. And but I feel like the media is really trying to tell us to be without and just survive, and that doesn't seem right. That's my opinion, though.
I know it should be really living in abundance, because we are made to live in abundance no matter what. And abundance doesn't mean like $1 million. It means live, like you said, being able to come home where you feel that joy and comfort,
And safety.
safety, because that affects our chakras, like you were saying, it affects our being, ourself. You need our root chakra is all about stability, security, and then our sacral chakra is about the pleasures that we feel, and that's within our home, within ourselves, within anything that surrounds us. And then we have our solar plexus, like you said, about how we are, our ego,
Confidence. Yeah.
our vulnerability, and our honesty. And then we have, like you said, the heart chakra, where we need to dive deep into. And I always like to do the work of, whenever a client or someone comes to me with all these, like you said, this turmoil, these thoughts that they're just carrying everywhere.
Yeah, it's all over them.
Yeah, and I say, flip the coin. What's on the other side of the coin? You're not seeing something because you're just focusing on one side of the coin. Let's flip the coin. What's on the other side of that?
Yeah, yeah.
A moment to look on that other side. What's coming on? What's going to come about if you just flip the coin? And that really helps put people on a different perspective when they could reflect what is on the other side of the coin, instead of reflecting and staying on one side. And then the throat chakra, to really speak your truth. Speaking your truth. And then our third eye, becoming aware and knowing of what you make, whatever decision you make today, how it's going to affect you tomorrow.
Right.
And
And
then
how to sort that out. Yeah.
Exactly. And then the crown chakra is your knowing. You are connected to a higher source. You are connected to all this knowledge. And we have all this knowledge accessible to us, but we always tend to block it. We close it up because our mind is just like a busy freeway system here.
Oh my gosh, it's crazy in there.
It's crazy in there. But yeah.
I get really bad headaches, and I know it's just I'm thinking too hard.
Yeah.
That's why we're sharing here about reflecting. Reflecting is just one of the techniques you could use to kind of your freeway or your random million.
What are some crystals that could help? Because you have that knowledge of crystals. What are crystals that can help to open up, some of these things that we're talking about?
Well, if you're overthinking, that too much chi thing, like at the acupuncturist, so you need to cool it down. I had a client scheduled day before yesterday, and I had to beg off and do it the next day, because I got this crazy headache, and I know I was just burning too much. I was just going too hard, and so I had this slab of fluorite, and I officially am keeping it because it's the exact size of my forehead, my square forehead here. Boom. And it would cool me down and cool me down. That stone is so wild. The more it doesn't get hot, it gets slightly warm, but it just cools your jets. It just cools your mind down. I've always used it for like fevers. I mean, you can put it on your baby's head and crack that fever in like an hour, but it can also crack the stone. So a big chunk is good, so they're not as vulnerable, like the little hearts. There's a lot of fluorite hearts and angels and stuff, but they shatter because they do their job. They absorb the energy really quickly. I'm obsessed with petrified woods right now. I have these with me like in every turn, and I've got them all different types of trees. I feel like they all work, but of course, the bigger, the heavier, the better. So it's literally like, it just grounds you. Or even fossils, like a heavy fossil can help just make you realize, oh, get out of my head. Boom, root. And so the heavy, all the browns, and the darks, of course, black tourmaline will cool your emotional pain, but and help you get a perspective on things, but it still kind of leaves you like, okay, now what are you gonna do, babe? So you have to have these heavy grounding stones also. So I'm really into the petrified woods. And then if you want to open up the other way, like this I have in my little lap right now, my apophyllite cluster, and you can always get them like the size of your hand. They've been carved, let's see, they've been carved round. And then, but they have these little pyramids in them. Woo, right there. And they're really good for opening up your crown, and you can hear your guides and help you open up a little bit further, and hear something back. Like even my baby girl said the other day, she found Christianity about 2 years ago. And so she's praying all the time now. She's reading the Bible, but she said to me the other day, I don't think she's going to watch this, but she said to me, she's like, Mama, I asked for blah, blah, blah. And this is what I heard. She says, this is the first time I ever heard anything back. It was so cute. So it's like, yay, because it is hard to hear something back because our mind's going, whoop, whoop, whoop. So yeah, pop light. I really recommend pop light because it helps you open up in this pyramid shape a little bit more. Of course, the quartzes will too. All the juicy quartzes, just the white quartz, they help generate your energy. That's their gig. So it generates like your kundalini energy, whoa, whoa, whoa. So you can connect to spirit and connect your angels and connect your guides and get God in your heart, your Godhead in your soul. You know, he's not in that chair up there. He's right here in your chest. So you open it up and then you can hear. So it's not always at the crown. It's like in your gut and your heart. And it's like, wow, you open it up. So that's a lot of the crystals just help you get through that extra bit. I don't know if my baby girl did that with crystals. She has moved them around lately though. She's an obsessive designer like me. Let's see, I have this other thing I wanted to say.
So would you say whether it's over emotional or overthinking is just for people in general, it's just them being unbalanced? There's nothing wrong with you. It's not about you
Right.
being not high enough vibration or high enough compassion. It's just we're, because of our environment, because of what we allow into our bodies, we just become unbalanced, whether it be emotionally or mental. And crystals are like natural minerals of the earth. They're like natural tuning forks.
They're God's tools. Yeah. God's tools to open up your spirituality and hear and feel. And yeah, it's very natural to feel blocked. It's very natural to get emotional, and emotional is good. Thinking is good. It's natural. So it's not like there's something wrong with you. It's not that mentality at all. We've evolved. The other thing I wanted to say, if I have time, is you'll definitely attract what you're buzzing on. So if you're feeling all these negative things, you're going to attract more negative things. If you're thinking these positive things, you're going to attract some more positive things. But it can also be simple things that you're attracted to. My dog still wants to go outside. No. Like I had my astrocartography done the other day about your if a certain location would be good for you, and if you would thrive. And it was such a weird read, but it basically said even if you don't move there, you could still attract things from there, which I thought was really cool, because it's like I have examples of that with Australia, and I'm very attracted to. I mean, they're really similar to us down there, a lot of genetically, and but I get every single thing I get from Australia, every single person I meet from Australia. Perth, the crystal guy, the surfer person, the stores, these. I was sitting on a trolley and these people I'm like, oh, you're from Australia? They're like, yeah, we're from Perth. So it's like, obviously that's one of my little spots. So I'm attracting that, and it's just so cool. And then I hear that about Seaside, Oregon too. Same thing. Everyone's like, oh yeah, I've been to Seaside. It's so funny. And then camping, I meet campers everywhere. Oh yeah, I go camping because I'm really into it right now, and I'd like to talk about it. Anyway, so those are some of the things, those are some of my lighter subjects that give my heart a lot of happiness. And then, so even if you, I was in Trader Joe's, the one in San Juan, which is a lot nicer than the one at San Clemente. And everyone's kind in there for some reason. And I'll start talking to somebody right next to you, and it turns out they're in the exact same role you're on. So, it's okay to talk to people, somewhere around, especially now since everyone's been locked up and they're let out and everyone's all fearful of what's next. So open up, talk to people, and you're going to find out you're going to have these, they're on that, if they're on that same little role that you are, and all of a sudden you've got all these things in common. And then I walked away from that like 3-minute conversation feeling so good about myself and what's going on, just because I was brave enough to go blah, 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 and so let it out, folks, let it out.
Yeah,
Definitely.
there was a message we got from, because we take a channeling course, and we've been really tapping into that gift. And she said something very profound. She said, when you have fear, there's no room for trust.
That's good.
You trust, there's no room for fear.
Here, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so yeah, you hit that, right there also when you said about fear, when you live in fear, you don't have room for possibilities.
For growth, yeah. And
Exactly.
And then for those, there's no need to worry like, oh my God, I'm thinking negative or I'm judging or this and that. That's where reflecting comes in. Reflect, leaving yours to address, to go for a walk, to write in a journal, to go to the beach, to kind of shed it. Or was it that person that you're crossing path with and you just tap into a gift that you didn't recognize you have, being intuitive to feel their emotion, to feel their thoughts? That's where reflection comes into play. A powerful tool to consider of, like Debbie says, like she's been practicing for so long, she still gets unbalanced. She's very gifted healer, but she has to practice these tools on a daily to keep herself balanced.
daily, yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Light that candle in the morning, do that little sage leaf in the morning, clear your thoughts, then go.
yeah, definitely. Yeah. And that we do that too, even before we see clients, I have to check myself. That's what I call it. I do a self-check because I need to make sure I'm giving this client 100% and not bringing my baggage into the session,
Right. Yeah, because you'll share words through that perspective you've got that day. And so you got to say as clear as you can, but you can't be too hard on yourself about it. And you can still give half of what you want to give, and they're still going to be stoked. So
I know, but it's really a good practice to do because it's really grounding. It's all about grounding yourself. And it's like I love to do that. I call it check myself. Maybe it's a little harsh, but it's also my way of grounding myself, like bringing myself back down and being humble and being more attuned to their not their needs. I don't like using that word anymore because we use that word and we think, oh, I need this, I need that, when we really don't need anything. We have everything within ourselves.
right here, yep.
So helping them tune into themselves is what
Yeah.
I say. Yeah.
And that their sensitivities are their gifts. Your sensitivities are your story, and those stories, once they're healed, they become your gift. And so people always apologizing. Oh, I'm so this, I'm so that, I'm so sorry, blah, blah, blah. Sorry, I dumped my blah, blah. I'm like, no. This is how you learn who you are. This is how you learn your specialties.
I was wondering if Ryan had any questions. He's been attentively
Oh,
listening.
yes, Mr. Ryan. He's muted.
Yeah.
Ryan, you're able to unmute yourself if you have questions, but if you want to type your question in chat, we'll read it out for you.
Do we get any questions?
I know.
No.
I've been checking the live, no questions there so far.
And just to even share, like they mentioned about saging or just clearing your energy before we address a client, but it's not always that. There's sometimes, like for me, being new to balancing my emotion because I suppressed it for so long.
Yeah.
I'll have outbursts of like frustration, anger, but that's me releasing and just kind of sending it out.
Yeah.
And now I'm ready for addressing or facilitating this client. So it's not always like got to be balanced. I have to be happy. You don't have to. There's no should be. There's no could. It's just reflecting for yourself, reflecting how could I be the best facilitator or healer or reflection depending on what's in front of you, or a friend or sister or brother. It's
Yeah, you're a Leo, and you want to be in control and wear that mane, but let it out. You gotta let it out, and then you and then it's not being held, right? So to let it out, like I was talking about that little cute little stranger I met, we ended up talking about camping. They just gotten this little trailer they're pulling, and her mom was like the same age as me. So she's like, what do you do? You know, it was just this really sweet little conversation, but just to let those words out, you know, I was having a bad morning. And then I just talked to that lady for a couple of minutes. I'm like, oh, no, everything's fine.
Yeah, no, and then what Davey brought up, a lot of people, when you think of surrendering, they think of it as a weakness, but there's so much great power in surrendering, you know, because when you surrender, you're able to really just, like you said, lay flat. You're
Yeah.
able to just lay flat and be more open, you know. And what you were saying about your daughter, when she prays, when you pray, and that's a way of surrendering yourself. That's a way of just kind of like flattening yourself. And when you're able to surrender yourself as much as possible and get that way down in that moment, you do get messages. And I've had those experiences where I've surrendered myself and I'm like, okay, it's too much. I need to give it to my higher source. I just need to give it away because I can't carry this anymore. And when you're just able to surrender that and just lay there for a moment, and all of a sudden you'll hear that message, you'll hear that voice. And
Right.
so it's like, oh, and it's a reminder how we're not alone.
Yeah.
It's a reminder of that. I love that, because then I realized like, oh, I'm not alone.
They're your support
Oh,
system.
Yeah, you have a support tribe, I call it. I have my tribe with me.
Yeah, your tribe. Yeah, I say my posse. I feel like that when I get a massage, is I'm surrendering. It's like, oh, I can't do anything else. I can't do anything else. So it's like, okay, there we go.
Yes, definitely. But yeah, no, that's what I enjoy, when we're able to talk about this and really kind of like bring up other things like, oh, and then there's this, and then there's that. And it's like, so back on the questions about awareness, becoming aware, I think we tapped on all of those questions that we had read earlier. Is this body, becoming aware? What's your emotions? What are you feeling? What are you experiencing? What are you resisting? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. The resisting part, when you really are able to just kind of like you said, take a moment and reflect on what you are resisting. There's a lot of messages with resist, a lot, you know, and you're able to just interview yourself on what am I really resisting?
Or what are you really mad at, or what do you really think you desire? What do you think you really need? And then and why you think you need that, and pick it apart. And then it's like, oh, I don't really need that, or I don't really want that, or you know.
Exactly.
For those who are watching us for the first time, whether as Dual Dragons or the Healers Roundtable, we had Debbie before, and I've shared this before. Like when we first were introduced to her energy, I'm not sure about Rick, because her energy was not all over the place. It was just more than, not that I could handle. It was just
We're ready for it.
We weren't ready for it, but
You
we
said
were
I was
ready.
intense. Yeah.
But I want to say it was a resist. There was a
Okay.
resist. Yeah, there was a resistance, because, and it's not a resistance towards you, it was a resistance of ourselves.
The work.
And that was a great learning experience for both of us, because it's like, what am I really resisting? You know, and then when you were able to open myself up to you, it's like, wow, like I learned so much more by bypassing that resistance, by really seeing what it was really about myself.
Yeah, that little Cobra Jasper did that for you. That tiny little green Cobra Jasper, you like, boom. that
Yes.
like opened you up to the other things, I think.
Yeah,
Debbie,
and
Debbie, can you give us your interpretation of the difference between resisting, knowing that you may have to learn from something, versus sensing and trusting your intuition that maybe you should not choose that option. Can you kind of share your perspective?
Well, I think part of what we're talking about right now is like even trusting another healer to work on you. I'm super sensitive and judgy on the whole thing, you know. And then we resist, like, what do they know that I don't know? Or what do they got dark stuff and they're gonna throw it on me? So there's
Yeah.
fear and trust issues and then there's a competition and it hits you in your gut and your heart and your head. And so, you know, to trust another and to be open to surrender to their information and be able to take it in your body. Like after I work with you guys, it takes me weeks to process it all, you know, and I'm sure I hear that too, but, but I think it's more than just, you know, resisting. I
Yeah.
think it can be a lot more, you know, like, um,
It's,
a big thing I was going to say about judgment, where I get in judgment, is I walk around with this truth, but like I'm the truth buster, you know, and my guides tell me all the time, this is your thing, this is your thing. You gotta tell these people that, you know, I'm like, that's really hard. Like, no, to tell people no. And that's hard for me to say no. I was beaten into submission to always obey, you know, and so to say no is still hard. So even to say no with a healer is really hard. And but it might just be until a later time, you know, just not right now. So that's hard too. So but it's not always, it might be just what you can handle right now. But yeah, when you guys first met me, you know, I babble on, I talk nonstop, but um and all the crystals in the house can be intense too, but eventually you get in the groove, right?
yeah.
Get into the groove.
No,
And
but
you
I
watch
think
them.
what JB brought up was important to know, like, um, when resistance, like you said, I think you said earlier, you get that intuition in your gut, you know, and I think it's really important to distinguish the difference when you have that gut intuition. Like it will literally stop you in your tracks.
Yeah, like don't go there or
Don't
turn
go there.
here or stay
Yeah.
home or yeah, those things. Yeah.
And so whenever I come, like what you, um, it's a battle between your gut and your stomach chakra of being honest and vulnerable, you know, when it comes to working with other healers. So
Yeah.
you have to kind of distinguish the difference between the two. Like, am I feeling vulnerable and that's what it's really about, or is it really that gut intuition saying no, no,
No, yeah. So
no?
I wrestle that a lot. Like, am I just feeling, you know, judgy? Am I feeling competitive? Am I feeling so I have, but then if you talk about it and go ahead and reach that and get it out of your mouth and get it out of your head and out of your belly, then all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, I guess I'm cool.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
There has been some times where I get that gut instinct. I interview it, I talk about it, and it's still there. And afterwards, I'm like, I'm glad I listened to my, you know, because there's some people that I have come across, and it's like, something doesn't feel right. And JB's more, my little, we're like, no, everything's good, everything's wonderful. Let's just bring this person in. And I'll tell him, like, my gut instinct is just like, something, something, something. And it's funny because I continue with voicing, like, this doesn't feel right, something doesn't feel right. And I interview it and I interview it. And most likely I'm right. When I'm able to really tap into my gut instinct, my intuition, and then I look at him and I'm like, yeah, my gut instinct was right. And then he'll look at me and be, yeah, I guess you're right.
Yes, you were.
Yeah, there was like two occasions that I can recall this past since well, we booked these clients interested in our healing session. Even though it verbalized, we explained everything within 5-10 minutes. They book the session and then they'll text or call, say, hey, we want to cancel. I'll get back to you. And so it's like, and those were the two moments that I recall Rebecca said, my intuition's like, I don't know about this. And luckily, the nurse took care of them to, nope, we're going to save you from that. And so anytime she has that same So I learned to reflect and respect when she has that similar sensation.
Hmm.
So check in with mine, but also respect her because we're dual dragons. We work together. And
Yeah.
she says,
Good.
no.
Yeah.
And even though I'll get messed, maybe not now. It's like, okay. So again, similar to Debbie, where you,
Maybe later. Yeah.
I guess with mine will be my ego and the chatter. Until recently, it's like finding out that I gave too much power to my ego to kind of drive my life. And hence why.
You want it. Yeah, you get the want. I want it to happen, you know.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, we have that on like the instinct thing. The ones that kind of hit blindside me sometimes, and this was recent, is when someone's been doing drugs, like hard drugs, and they come to you and they want to be healed, but there's all this other stuff going on, and then it's chemical, and it's coming out of their skin, and then the things that happened when they were on that, and then I used to see the demons very clearly, and I could get them out. I mean, I that's in my genes. My grandfather did that. I saw him do that. So I'm brave about it. But right now I'm not seeing those demons anymore. So I'm hoping it's because um that's not in my life. And because usually you can see what's active in your life. So I guess I've cleared some out, knock wood. I'm going to knock on my wood right now. But the dirty drugs are just so hard on you energetically when you touch it or you get in it, and then you can feel it in your lungs, you can feel it in your head, you feel it in your little neurons in your brain, and that took me down for about 2 weeks afterward. Last time I thought I had COVID.
Uh,
Oh no, I said it. But I didn't. I got tested and I didn't, but I was flattened,
yeah.
and then I went to the trees, and then I was like,
You're right. I have noticed that when right now the people that are on drugs, it's a different. We had a client that really was seeking to change that, and we ended up
Yeah.
losing anyways. So that was hard. That was hard
yeah,
for the family, for himself. Knowing that no matter how much he wanted to have that self-love, to really
yeah.
he was reflecting on it, it still got to him, and we ended up losing him right before his third session. Right before his third session, we got the call that he had passed away. So that was really hard.
Yeah, it's really hard on your soul, isn't it? It's so you just hope you've gotten at least one or two sentences went into him that hit his soul, that he'll be contemplating up there and before he comes back again, and or decides not to come back again, so we'll see.
Definitely. So we're at the top of the hour. We want to respect people's time. So we're about to end live with Facebook. We will hold another 20, 30 minutes private conversation here on Zoom. So
Okay.
watching us right now, you just go ahead and click on the link. And thank you for having us. Do you have any final words, Rebecca?
Thank you for joining us, and make sure to join us tomorrow for Reconnect. We're going to have Cece as our guest speaker, and she's a great psychic. She always brings in a lot of great intuition and just so join us tomorrow. And then, like I said, if you've missed yesterday on Recharge, you could watch it on our Healers Roundtable Facebook page. And for people on Meetup, that link is on the message board. Okay. Oh, he's just tuning in during work. Thank you, Ryan, for listening. And I hope you can listen in tomorrow too. Thank you.
If you have our contact information, just reach out to us with your questions and we'll be happy to answer, even if you're watching the replay. So stay healthy, breathe intentionally, and we'll see you soon.